Hello there and welcome back to some more Grand Theft Auto 3. Today we'll continue on Let's Play. This is episode 21. In today's episode we are starting to take a look at the Staunton side missions, starting off with the Staunton Island Rampages. There are 7 on Staunton, and it is worth pointing out these are quite a bit more tricky than the Portland ones. It's also worth pointing out that you must do these Rampages preferably before the Mission Kingdom come, because then the Yardies will not be hostile towards you. And there is a couple of rampages involving the Yardies. Anyways, this first rampage involves setting fire to 16 Yakuza members with the Molotov cocktails, and this one is a bit of a bitch. The Molotov cocktails we've discussed many times in the LP, not the most effective of weaponry in all honesty. They're quite hard to predict where they are going to go. Thankfully the Yakuza members are not hostile towards you in any way, shape or form. They can start going after the Yardie members, which means they run around, group up, which can be useful. Essentially just throw them at walls and stuff like that can help. Throw them at large groups, do the whole turnaround tactic as well, where you flip the camera around to make more of them spawn. Make sure you have full health and armor before you attempt this one. I recommend that for almost all the Rampages, but this one especially, because you will set yourself on fire by accident a couple of times. Anyways, yeah, that one is a little bit on the tricky side if you ask me personally, but it can be done. I believe that was my second or third attempt at doing it after setting myself on fire a few times. Anyways, our next Rampage is found in Belleville Park and involves destroying 8 vehicles in 120 seconds with the shotgun. There's its first location, and the second location, which I find a lot easier to do, is right next to the safe house, basically. So for this one, much like the rocket launcher mission from Portland, I suggest building a traffic jam of vehicles up before you do this. I actually built these 2 ballistas right next to each other, which helps significantly. As you can see, I managed to get a train of 4 cars right off the bat. You can also see I almost ran out of life. Yeah, as usual, grab your armor, grab your health before you do this. I'm not quite sure what I was going for here. Again, all these Rampages are a lot easier on PC, as is the entire game. The shotgun doesn't have all that much range. You do need to be relatively close for it to be, and it's most effective. The closer you are, the more damage it does. Really close ranges, it can kill a car in 2 shots. But I really wouldn't recommend that. In the end, I decided to basically steal a car to stop it driving off, and also try to build up a little bit of a traffic jam with a bunch of cars, actually. This is actually relatively effective. It's only 8 cars you need to destroy, which means doing something like this, you do have the time to do that. If any of the pedestrians try and get their car back, simply wave the shotgun in their general direction, and they will start having issues. You can see, yeah, it does take a little while, but eventually I managed to get a little bit of a chain reaction going here, and that was the end of the Rampage. Yeah, that one can be a little tricky, as I suggested. Make sure you get a decent pile of cars, maybe try jacking some while the Rampage is active, and definitely get some before you actually activate the Rampage itself. Anyways, the next one, we head all the way to the other side of the island near Donald Love's building in the car park, and we're going to be burning 25 Yakuza in 120 seconds, another flame-based Yakuza Rampage. This one is a bit more tricky than the Molotov, purely because the spawning of the Yakuza I found to actually be really awkward. It never usually spawned enough, and also you can't sprint with the flamethrower in hand, so as usual, if you've got a 2-handed weapon, do make sure to do the jumping tactic, and you'll see me do the spin tactic here, where essentially you spin the camera around and then more will spawn behind you, although you can only do that for so long before eventually it runs out. You can set yourself on fire with the flamethrower, but it's not a biggie. Of course, the Yakuza do not actually attack you, they'll just run away from you. Police can show up, which does make this one a little bit awkward as well, because, well, they have actual guns, and a flamethrower is not the most effective weapon. Flame-based weaponry in this game is really rather trash, to be honest with you. Yeah, you gotta watch out when the coppers come near you, because they'll try and beat you with a fist, and at close range you will set yourself on fire. As usual, full health, full armor is recommended. Yeah, you can see I started to get a bit worried now because, well, this was going quite well unlike my previous attempts where I was usually like 5 or 6 off. There is another spawn point for this, I believe it's near the church. Both of them are pretty difficult to do. I guess this one's slightly better, there's a slightly more spawn, but like I said, without using the camera spinning tactic, there's not really much you can do. Maybe head towards the bridge near the Donald Love building. A few of them can spawn up there, you'll need a car to get there though, so not the most effective method, but it is a method. Anyways, our next rampage is going to be heading to the Aspatria area. This one is one that was actually a lot easier than I expected it to be. This is one where you definitely need to avoid doing Kingdom Come before doing this. You are exploding 25 yardies in 120 seconds with the handheld grenades. There can be issues with spawning in this one. I believe chain kills as a result of car explosions do count in this one. Now, as soon as you start attacking the yardies, they will start running towards you. It's not too bad though, you can run away from them. Thankfully the yardies do group up quite massively, as opposed to quite other gang. I don't know if there's any difference in gang behaviour, but the yardies more than any other gang just seem to gang up more and there's more of them. I would recommend trying to get a little bit of range between you and the yardies just to make it a little bit easier. But this isn't a massively easy rampage in general. But yeah, it is doable. I believe I actually did this first time, which I was not expecting. Yeah, the grade's not the most effective of weapons, as we've discussed previously, but perfectly usable, more usable than the Molotov cocktails, in my honest opinion. Also, it's worth pointing out the Yardies only have baseball bats, fists, and pistols, so you're not exactly facing heavy firepower, but you are facing high firepower nonetheless. The next rampage takes us to Torrington, and it involves us targeting more Yardies. It's actually on top of the AMCO building, the tallest building in Liberty City. It's right on this little corner here, and it tasks you with popping 17 Yardie heads in 120 seconds. Now, the idea of the rampage, I'm assuming, is you're supposed to go up onto the roof and, well, take people out from a distance. However, when it says pop Yardie heads, it doesn't mean kill 17 Yardies, it means you actually physically have to get headshots, which is something I found rather challenging initially. So, yeah, coming down to ground level seemed to help for whatever reason. I have no idea why this is. You'll probably see this with the police officers coming up in a bit. When I was in the sniper scope, they didn't actually attack me whatsoever. Like, they just sort of came up and looked at me for a bit. Not sure what that was all about. But yeah, the Yardies don't actually seem to notice you using the sniper rifle. I don't know if it counts as a stealth weapon by the game files, maybe? But you can actually see here. You'll see the police do it eventually. They just sort of run in circles. They're not quite sure what to do for some reason. Not sure what's going on there, but yeah, as I said, you do need to make sure you are getting headshots while doing this, but other than that, if you come down to ground level, it does make this rampage a lot easier. Potentially getting an adrenaline pill as well would also make it easier, although I don't think any spawn in this immediate area, so it's just a case of being a good shot, maybe hoping occasionally they'll walk into your crosshairs. That will make things a lot easier. So final 2 Yardie heads to pop. I think I'd try to lead my targets a little bit with this one, end up blasting a copper, which I didn't particularly want to do, and then our final Yardie goes boom, and that's the end of that. Yeah, a rampage that can be a lot more trickier than it appears on paper, but as long as you remember to get your headshots in, it's not too bad. Next up, my least favourite rampage in the entire game so far. This one was an absolute cunt. It spawns here at the church. It has another spawn point. I can't remember where though. I didn't include it in the video. I was recording for about an hour with this one. So, yeah. This one tasks you with killing 30 Yardies with the rocket launcher. Sounds easy. However, you can't sprint with the rocket launcher. You can't jump with the rocket launcher. And the Yardies' method of attack is essentially come as close to you as humanly possible. So my workaround was to get to an elevated position. However, there's not that many elevated positions in the game nearby. I tried jumping on top of cars, that didn't work because the car would end up exploding. In the end, I settled for these. I actually found this spot by complete accident near Belleville Park, the actual City Hall. Seemed to actually work really nicely for this. Of course, as we discussed earlier, yardies seem to group up quite nicely. And once I found this, it became an absolute piece of piss. But yeah, beforehand, it was an absolute bleeding nightmare. I hated this rampage. And I was quite glad that, well, I was a little bit pissed off that I didn't find an easy way. Anyways, apparently I forgot to put a transition there, but oops. Our final rampage takes us to a Liberty campus and involves destroying 15 vehicles in 120 seconds with the M16, the most wildly ridiculous weapon in this entire game. So you know the miniguns from the later GTAs? Well, once upon a time in GTA 3, we had the M16, which was kind of similar. You'll notice I've tried to make a traffic jam of 2 cars on either side of the road. That didn't really work all that well. Neither of them really stopped traffic. My blister was parked too far forward and no one was spawning on the Mignana side. The M16 is a very good weapon once you control the recoil on it. It does sort of bounce here, there and everywhere, which can make it a little bit annoying. But yeah, it's okay. Actual traffic spawn rates here are not amazingly good, and also some college kid decided to try and have a fight with me, which didn't go well for him. I actually ended up shooting more pedestrians in this than I did cars, just because they get very angry with you. Like, look, I don't know why the method is to attack someone who is shooting at cars with a fully automatic assault rifle, while your method would be to go up to him and punch him. But, you know, needs must, I guess. The police cars do of course show up and provide targets. Just make sure they don't get too close to you. As usual, full health and armour are very much recommended. For some reason the police don't shoot at you while you're scoped in, with the M16 as well. I don't know if that's just a thing in the game. I will have to actually play and have a look, but for whatever reason the police don't really seem to be that bothered about me. That police car went fucking flying, apparently, which is good for him. Is this the last rampage? I think this is the last rampage. Actually, I'm just looking at my time code. Apparently there might be another one. I'm not sure. Anyways, 65,000 credits and I get off scot-free with 1 health. Absolutely incredible. I managed really well there. Okay, yeah, there isn't another rampage. There's just going to be another cut, and then apparently I go back to the safe house. Anyways, yeah, that is going to be it for this edition of the Grand Theft Auto 3 Let's Play. I do hope you've enjoyed. Next time, we are going to be taking a look at good old-fashioned Vigilante here on Staunton Island, so join me for that. Until then, farewell. Nothing stays, they pass you by if you don't check.